Hello and welcome to the Digital EDU Dialogues podcast. I'm Angela Britcher, and joining me today is my colleague from the Babb group, Sheila Fry. Welcome, Sheila.
Hello. Hello. Great to see you again in person instead of virtually as we always work. So this is great.
Yes. Well, and it's been a while since you've been on the podcast, and we thought we would
Mhm.
touch base about what is trending right now in higher ed and in training and development. So, Sheila,
Yeah.
you work with higher ed decision makers all over the country. What are some of the things that you are seeing that are trending and that they are asking for when they partner with us?
Yeah. So many things. I mean, as we all know right now, higher education is in flux. There's so many challenges. There's so many things that people are looking at. There's so many decisions to make. So I see a lot of these trends in a lot of different ways. We see them in proposals. We see them in conversations. We see them just in social media interactions that we have when we're talking to everybody. Some of the big ones, which kind of stand out, is there's a lot of LMS conversions. People are moving from one LMS to another for a variety of reasons: accessibility, cost, maybe expanding their program, moving to new capacities. That's a big one that we see. So there's a lot of challenges associated when you do that type of LMS shift. Um, Organizations and institutions are looking at adding new programs. That's always a big discussion. Maybe their programs are not getting the demand they're seeing. There's a lot of demand in other areas. There's a big shift right now. You see the ones that are successful and not successful in higher ed, the ones that are really looking at those new programs. A renewed emphasis on accessibility and inclusion, making sure that those courses are accessible to all students. They're exceptional screen readers, inclusive environments. Maybe they're revising new courses. Some of them may be using ones from the COVID era yet, the progressed forced learning, how we can do those. We see a lot of that. And those expanding online. All that documentation is there. We know online is where it is, that focus. And workforce training and development, and of course, looking at enrollment and retaining students. All those are very big right now in higher ed overall.
Mhm. And let's talk a little bit more about each of these pieces and each of these trends. So when we think about adding new programs, a lot of the people that we have on the podcast talk about this and this that they are expanding. And of course, we think that's really exciting. The couple of things that have stood out as they talk about expanding their programs are that they're really digging in and doing their research and their homework to determine not only what's trending, but what I think is fascinating is our schools seem to be really focused on what they do well. So it's not just, oh, project management is trending, let's have a project management program. It's, we do project management well. And so let's expand that. Let's look for a way to expand that online. Let's look for a way to maybe offer that in an in-person community program. So what are some of the, as you see RFPs come in, what are some of the program expansions that you're seeing, or just kind of the philosophy that you're seeing behind some of the schools as they expand their programs
That's a
and
really good
expand
point.
online?
The philosophies are very, and their approaches are very niche focused. They aren't just getting into nursing. They're just not getting into cybersecurity. That, like you said, the research, they're looking at who are they trying to target? Is it the working adult? Is it the traditional student? And then designing those programs specifically to meet those needs and those requirements. So it's not just taking, oh, we're going to do nursing and add this program. How can we be different? How can we differentiate ourselves? In today's market, especially online, it's very easy to find if a student is looking for a cybersecurity program, they're going to go to Google or their favorite search engines and look for it. So the institutions need to make sure when they develop these courses and these new programs, how can they make themselves stand out? And I think that's what I really see is an emerging trend for that someone is trying to make that differentiating factor.
Yeah, I'm seeing that as well. And it seems like this is where the success is lying, right? Digging in, really doing that research about what's
Yes, the
trending as
haves
well
and
as
the
the
have-nots.
target audience. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And along those lines, the idea of revising existing courses, I think that goes hand in hand with shifts in a learning management system. So sometimes faculty, I think, don't even realize the challenges that go into revising courses and taking all of your courses from one LMS and putting them into another. Talk a little bit about the challenges of kind of the overwhelm of that task and why having instructional designers are so important for, again, revisions and moving courses.
Well, because in a perfect world, you can move from one LMS to another. You export, you import, and it looks just like it did before. They never do. They might
Never works
be
out that way. Even when I
they
export
might
one
be
of my courses into
50%
another
there.
shell. I've got to go in.
Yes. I mean, it never in theory works that well. So then the result is, what do you do with it? And if you don't have a template, if you don't have help, and if you're going to rely on your faculty, you've already thrown them a loop by moving to a new LMS. They may or may not be comfortable with it. Same thing with your students. You're throwing them in a new LMS. So the consistency there is very important, making sure that you have a consistent template, you have a good layout. When you go from LMS, accessibility is a really big factor. It may have been fine in one LMS, you put them in the other LMS, and suddenly now it's a mess. So you can't just import and let it go and think you're fine. The good part of that, with a lot of institutions, when they've made this shift, is that now they've taken the time, because now the time is perfect. You already have to touch them, or you should be touching them in some way. And to have help do this would make it much more convenient, much more expeditious, much less painful for all involved, is to take those revisions for courses. Even if your courses were designed at one point and were fantastic, they're very engaging, they're very inclusive. Maybe your content is from 2004. What is your last textbook? What is your last, are you talking about topics that are not impactful anymore? Are we not talking about social media? Are your marketing courses not including that? Obviously, that's a dynamic part there. So we need to make sure that we're including aspects that are relevant, that are job focused. This is a good opportunity now to tie in job skills and to do those things. So it's an opportunity to really explore and enhance and expand and make sure that now you're making an inclusive environment, and that everything is accessible. So it really hits all those hot buttons.
And I appreciate this. I am teaching 2 courses right now that I originally designed in the fall of 2020. And they are both communications courses. So they are, they need some update. And what I realized was, one is the design course, right? So I've got to incorporate all these new ideas about, using artificial intelligence and helping my students understand how that's a tool that they can use and experiment with. Another course I'm teaching is media and politics. Obviously, the world has changed a lot since 2020. And so making that time to revise and rebuild in the learning management system is so important. So even though, sure, those activities were really creative and engaging and students had a positive experience, but the need to update that content to keep it relevant, I think is just an ongoing thing that we always have to be working on.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what your students pay attention to, that your students understand it.
The other thing that I want to talk about is, as schools are expanding online, we know this is the direction things are going. We know schools are making these investments. Again, a lot of our guests talk about that they're not just taking a whole program and expanding it online, that a lot of times they're expanding with smaller programs, with micro-credentials and certificate programs. Talk about that and how you're seeing this as a trend.
Yeah, this really connects with that workforce development, and because they kind of go hand in hand. There is a big focus and emphasis, and again, result of listening to your student base, listening to your target market. They want those applicable skills. They want to be able, maybe they don't have time to dedicate, or the financial basis to dedicate to a regular traditional degree, but they have great skills. They want to enhance one certain part of what they're doing. They want to be able to get a certificate. They want to show that they have skills in a certain area. So being able to utilize and expand on micro-credentials allows them to do that, and it allows them to tie in those specific workforce skills. So it's kind of a bonus hit, if you want. You have the micro-credential, the students get the short-term quick hit benefit, and they're able to tie in the workforce relevance that students are looking for. So higher ed overall isn't really in my opinion, embracing it fully yet. Some really are. We've seen some people literally at institutions have their job title is director of micro credentials, or dean of micro, or something along that line. So you see some that are really going all in on it, and especially in the community education area. But I think, and I've seen a couple in the last couple of weeks that have come out to me and talked to me specifically about doing micro credential courses. That could be maybe at the end of the year, we could be looking at a lot more institutions that are adding those to their course lists.
Mhm. And along those lines, what I'm seeing and hearing, and what I know we are working on, are a lot of training and development programs around essential skills, right? We call those soft skills, but the essential
Yes.
skills, things like leadership, management, communication, and creating your own personal brand, entrepreneurship, the basics that you need for entrepreneurship, like marketing and some basic accounting, taxes, and so seeing that several of the schools that we work with, as well as people we're talking to on the podcast, that those are a real focus of these micro credential programs, that people may have the skills to do the job, and they might need to upskill in some ways to get that latest technical skill that goes with their field, but they're really looking for these essential skills: how to manage people and how to communicate.
Yeah. They're hard to communicate. That's not something you necessarily can put in a resume, or how do you answer those skills in an interview? Showing that you have taken these courses and you have those enhanced abilities and you have this background, and it shows you have, especially if you're looking to enhance, you're looking to move up in your career, to get promoted. These soft skills might be the things that you're really missing, and you can show that potential employer or your own workplace, hey, look, I've invested in myself to learn these, and now it will benefit our organization overall.
Mhm. All right. We are offering something new at the Babb Group at Professor Services. I'm going to switch gears and talk a
Yeah.
little bit about dissertation services and this new
Mhm.
program. So tell us more about that.
Dissertation services is one, because we know that a lot of the listeners here, you might be working on your PhD, you might be a BD and may have been there for a while, and you got stuck for whatever reason, and you're looking to move up. You might need that degree, but you feel kind of stuck. So as a kind of result of that, we have added in the professor services side of our company dissertation services, which is editing and mentoring. Um, as we all know, some of the educational process, you can feel very alone. This gives you hourly per your budget, buddy support, to help you finish that degree, help you get to that finish line, and help you get that promotion. Maybe even as a tenured faculty, whatever you intend to do, it just helps you kind of get to the finish line. So it's been well received so far. We've got a lot of excitement about it, a lot of interest. So yeah, it's been just one more way that we can help the higher education market.
And I've had the opportunity to talk with our head dissertation coach, and what I really appreciate is how committed she is to the mentorship process and
Yes.
to making it work for each individual, that this really is customized. If you prefer to work by email, you
Mhm.
prefer to work by video, uh, helping you map out deadlines, helping you with your research question, helping you with just basic work life school balance while you're trying to complete this humongous milestone in your academic career.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that she has put into designing a program that's really holistic. It's about the whole person as you complete your PhD, and to really, she is just so committed to helping people get across that finish line.
Yeah. It's a great service. I'm glad that we added it.
I'm really excited about it too. All right. Anything else that you want to share today about what's trending or that you're excited about?
Let's keep focus. We see a lot of interesting things in the pipeline. A lot of things, we see a difference from last year where there was initial talk about certain things. Now we're seeing some action and movement. So excited to see what the rest of the year will bring.
All right, Sheila, thank you so much for making time to join me today.
Thanks.
This episode of Digital EDU Dialogues is brought to you by the Babb Group. The demands for teaching and online learning are constantly evolving. Don't get left behind. Carve out a competitive edge and give students engaging learning experiences with support from the Babb Group's team of course design experts. As experienced online faculty and instructional designers, the Babb Group knows how to craft those aha moments for students and meet outcomes for every modality: online, hybrid, and face-to-face. Creating engaging, welcoming, and inclusive learning spaces for students of all ages and abilities has never been more important. Discover how the Babb Group can help you by visiting their website today.